United we fall. A story of family, of betrayal, of trust, of unity, of survival. An original audiobook. Chapter 7. The tears freely fell. Her smiling cheeks were covered with the shiny wetness. It was her daughter's first performance in a school assembly, and she felt like the proudest mother in the whole building. The play was wonderful. The children were all so adorable in their cute little costumes. Afterward, the whole family went out to dinner to celebrate her daughter's hard work and awesome performance. The food was delicious and everyone laughed a lot during the meal. When they arrived back home, the children went right to bed without putting up a fight and seemed to fall asleep as soon as their heads touched the pillows. "My little angels," she said to herself as she made her final check on them before heading to her bedroom. She was smiling as she entered the room. Her husband was in the adjoining bathroom. She could hear the water running in the shower. Her eyes quickly darted to his cell phone, which lay on the dresser next to his wallet and keys. She could literally feel her smile fading. For a brief moment, she considered checking the call log on his phone, but was able to resist the temptation. "Do it. Go and take a look. You have a right to know," the familiar voice in her head began. "You need closure. You need to be sure," it continued. "No," she said quietly to herself. "I trust him." "Do you?" the voice said. "Who are you kidding?" The voice was now mocking her. The water in the shower stopped. Now her stomach began to ache, and it had nothing to do with the dinner she had just eaten. She had been experiencing these nervous feelings off and on in her gut lately. She had been fighting a battle in herself for weeks now, a battle of trust, and more incidents occurred where she had to fight the voices in her head harder and more frequently. Incidents like his cell phone ringing and him leaving the room to talk on it. Incidents like him talking on his phone very quietly, when normally she could hear his conversation so clearly that she could accurately guess the identity of the person on the line with him. Incidents like him coming home late from work and running straight to the shower, no hug, no kiss. She could hear him moving around in the bathroom now, drying off, she supposed. The voices ruthlessly accused and convicted him, but there was never a better public defender made than she had been for him these past few months. She argued heatedly with the voices inside her, but now she feared it was taking its toll on her physically. Her stomach ached often, and it was getting worse. He entered the room smiling. "You look great tonight, baby. I had such a nice time at the performance," he started, but he was interrupted. "I did too. Baby, you know I love you, right?" She interjected more of a statement than an actual question, and before he could respond, she continued, "You know that I do trust you too, right?" She said, "Yes, of course, I know that, baby. Is everything okay?" he said with a serious look on his face. She took a deep breath and said, "No, it's not." She exhaled and added, "Baby, I'm going crazy. I have all these wild thoughts and suspicions, and I know it's just stupid jealousy, but I just can't stop tripping. I don't want to feel like this anymore," she blurted out all at once, trying hard to contain her hysteria. His face held a look of mild shock, which quickly became calm understanding and then compassion. "I love you with all my heart," he said, and walked over to put his arm around her shoulders. He could feel a slight trembling in her body, almost like she was shivering. Her head was lowered. "What can I do to help you, baby?" he offered. "Tell me about your phone," she said softly and calmly, looking at the floor. "What?" he asked. "There are numbers in your phone that I don't recognize, and they've been called at all hours of the day," she answered. He was flabbergasted. "You've been going through my phone, baby?" He seemed ready to indict her, when instead, he just sighed and said, "Baby, those are just co-workers and clients. We've been working on the details of a big campaign that's on a tight deadline." That's all, baby." He smiled and leaned in to kiss her. She moved to avoid his kiss. She stared directly into his eyes like a human lie detector and said, "Don't lie to me. I know that something is going on, and I guess I've always known, but I just didn't want to believe it. Now I'm asking you to be honest with me," she said, no longer trying to be calm. "Baby, what are you talking about? Where is all this coming from?" he asked, smiling, almost laughing as he continued. "I thought we were past all this. Yeah, you're right, you are tripping." Then he walked away, climbed into bed, and said, "Come on over here and lay down, honey. Let Daddy make it all better." "I smelled your drawers," she said in response to his invitation. "What did you say?" he asked. "Damn it, I smelled your boxers on one of those nights when you came running in the door headed straight for the shower. I got suspicious and I smelled your goddamn underwear while you were in the shower." "Not once, but twice," she exclaimed shamelessly. "Are you crazy? That is disgusting," he replied. His eyes weren't looking at her as he spoke now. He looked up and down, but not at her when he spoke. "Are you cheating on me?" she asked in a tone that showed no regard for the children sleeping 3 doors down the hall. He looked at her and said, "Hell no, I would never." Then his eyes cut to the left, and it was right then that she knew. Though she had secretly known all along, she didn't possess enough denial to continue fooling herself. This was her husband, and she knew him. 11 years into this marriage, and she knew him well enough to know in her heart that he was telling her a bold-faced lie. He had sat up now, and was still talking. She could hear the sound of his voice, but the words were falling short of her ears. The whirlwind was back. Though her face hid the emotions like a department store mannequin, tears began to fall from her eyes. They were the only outward evidence of the raging within her now. The furious pounding of hurt on top of hurt on top of hurt. The dizzying confusion, the bottomless depression, the cold and complete emptiness inside, followed by the hot, raging, thunderous feelings of revenge. He was quiet now, staring at her, waiting for some type of response. She slowly smiled, and her gaze returned from the far-off place that it had gone to, and refocused on him. She never said a word. Instead, she lunged at him, with fingernails bared like an uncaged tigress. She raked him across his face, pulling away layers of skin before he could rise up to defend himself. She pounded and punched at him as he blocked and grabbed her. Finally, he had her by the wrists. Despite her twisting, kicking, and biting efforts, he was able to subdue her. They were both breathing hard. His expression was angry, but more so fearful. Looking at the blood dripping from the stripes across his face and nose, along with his quickly swelling lips, seemed to please her. He looked at her, and what he saw frightened him even further. She was completely expressionless and cold, as if she had no heart left inside her. "Get out of my house while you still can," she said to him quietly. He got up and quickly put his pants on. She got up and headed for the dresser. He put his left shoe on. She opened the drawer and pulled out their handgun. "Now," she yelled, "you got to the count of 3 to get the hell out of my house," she said, taking aim at him. 1. His eyes were as big as saucers as he dropped the other shoe and grabbed his keys, wallet, and phone, moving toward the door. 2. She yelled as she cocked back the hammer, making a cracking sound that reminded her of the sound lightning makes when it strikes a tree. He ran like his life depended on it. He never heard her say 3. She was crying yet again.